Witch of Moon's Lane presents...
How to witch, bitch.
Well, welcome back. Hello, how are you? How to witch, bitch. Michelle of the Witch of Moon's Lane, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, darling. How are you?
Very good, thank you. We've had a lot of people contact us about some of our past episodes, which is really, really cool. We love a review. We love a comment.
5-star.
Thank you. That would be great. Now, liquid_chef78,
Ooh.
which makes me think he cooks with wine.
We like him already.
Just started getting into podcasts, and yours is the first one I've listened to.
Wow.
Absolutely loving all the valuable information you're sharing. It really resonates with me. The vibe between you both is amazing,
that's
and it makes
brilliant.
listening so enjoyable.
Oh, thank
you.
you.
Liquid Chef. You're an amazing man.
Yeah.
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 Also, the topic we were talking about, how can you pick a witch?
Yep.
A lot of people have commented on that, particularly that someone says they won't let you know unless they want you to know.
So that's true, actually.
You can't tell unless the witch wants you to know,
That's true.
which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that we said it was an old lady, I think that's hasn't gone down too well with too many people, but that's okay.
But that's just wisdom.
It is.
It's wisdom. So, we go maiden, mother, crone. So there are 3 stages of your life.
Yep.
And, you can be very wise and still be very young. And that just means crone just means having wisdom. So
Yep.
it's life experience.
Yeah. Another thing people were talking about as well was past lives.
Yep.
Because we did kind of touch on that, and the finding out who you were in a past life. Obviously, we've mentioned it before about the fact that can explain a lot in your current life.
Okay.
So I think the fear of the ocean was one of the big ones, and then
Yep.
that you mentioned that probably meant that you drowned or you were in a ship or something like that.
That's right. And the other thing that's quite interesting is, correlation to scars.
Yeah.
So scars and birthmarks and things like that. And, being a witch, a lot of us said we were burnt at the stake, but we weren't. We were actually hung. Most of us were hung. So you'll have a line here. And as you can see, I've got a marking right there that goes around.
Right.
Yeah.
You do too.
Yeah. Yeah. So that would have been that I was a witch in my last life. So what was I really a witch though, or was I just one of these poor women that had a lot to say? Owned property and had to be put to that mouthy bitch. Let's get rid of her. Witch, I say. And so obviously when I was coming to this life, I went, witch, 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 witch. I must be a witch.
Do you think witches become witches or they're born witches?
Both. It just depends, if you're born into a family that's sort of more pagan, and they're not opposed to that. Like with me, and when I was 15, and I sort of said I was a witch, and my mother was not opposed to that because technically, they meant they were grave hunters. My mum was psychic and my grandmother was psychic as well. Funny enough, my grandmother was actually a Sunday school teacher, so she was very much into all that, but she also had this other side. Yeah.
That's cool.
That is cool.
How did that go down?
Yeah. Interesting in the fact that when I used to go to my grandmother and say, and I'm seeing things and things like that, they never really poo-pooed it. So, like when you're young and a child comes to you and says, I'm having a dinner party with my friend Albert, we all go along with it until they're probably 5 and then we're going, come on, that's an imaginary friend. It may not necessarily be an imaginary friend. And so, there's certain things that you can ask. And going back into that past life when kids are that age, I'm always open to continuing it. So if one of your children comes in and says, my name's actually Ben, or it's Paul, or it's and you sort of say, okay, that's great, and tell me, what do you look like? What are you doing? You can really sort of go along with that. You'll soon work out whether or not it's all made up or actually there is something there like a past life.
Well, we have mentioned that as well. I think in one of the other episodes was the fact that how kids can know where they died or that kind of thing, which is, the past life factor. With some of the people that you've done past life regression with, and that's a lot of hypnotherapy as well, what's the most fascinating person that you've found out their past? I mean, yours, you did mention it, which was that you got run over by a steamroller, which I still think you could have got away, like, to be 100% honest.
But I'm not.
It's a slow-moving vehicle,
But I'm
mate.
not entirely sure whether or not I might have been murdered.
Oh, this is what you mentioned.
So this is what I was saying before. I can just
under a steamroller.
right. So I can just
It's still
remember.
very slow. Very slow.
Maybe I was a bit like the chef and had a bit of liquid
Maybe
going
you
on.
had a liquid lunch.
Maybe I was out there with my beer and had a bit too much and tried to lay concrete. Turn around, Brian. Oh, shite.
There's a very slow moving vehicle coming. I'll just have another sip.
That's probably why I was feeling it all, because I was like,
Probably.
oh, there goes my leg. There goes my stomach.
Yeah. You didn't move because you were still drinking, finishing your glass.
Yeah, I think I was held down.
Have you had fascinating people?
I have had some fascinating people, but nothing really sort of like any Cleopatras or anything like that. I've met people that have said they've been Cleopatra, and I've always giggled at. I've met 10 of those. So it's this the common. Like I had one lady that actually was just in the field and she was just doing the TP. So it was like just common, and like here she was English actually, funny enough, and here she was describing a life that she had long ago with, funny enough, her stepfather was her father in that life. So it's interesting how we choose to stay in soul family groups. So I always say that, if you're a mother in this life, you could come back as a child. So it's almost
so much
like
easier.
Yeah, so you like to stay in the same family groups just so that you can have the experience of, I always say, walking in someone's shoes. What is it like? What have you learnt? And karma may not necessarily be in this life. It might be in the next. So often people say, well, how come I've got karma debt when I've done nothing? I say, hey, what did you do in your past life?
Yeah.
And so we work through karma debt.
On
this life. And, it may not make sense, but I always say, what, if someone comes and says to you, this is a lesson that you didn't learn in the last life, how many times would you repeat year 12 before you say, I don't want to do this anymore, right? So that's kind of like why our memory is wiped, so that we do come back and we're sort of quite enthusiastic about this life yet again, because it feels like it's the first one.
So back to as well the soul circles you were mentioning, that the soul family that you choose to be in. Do you think
and you have soul best friends too, that are soul groups that you come in and you go, wow, I recognise you. Like you may come in, you recognise their energy, or you recognise some sort of familiarity
or you
about
feel like
them.
home with
you feel
them.
like home with them, and you think, I've only just met this person, and then you just have an instant click. That's because you've probably been soul sisters or soul brothers, and you've been together in a past life as either friends or lovers or whatever that is. And it's just that soul recognition of the counterpart of another.
I love that. What about pets?
Pets are the same. So I always said before, you can choose to come back as a pet. You can choose, like, depending on what it is that you
someone
need.
To just clean up after me.
Yeah.
They just feed me food on the floor and lick my own balls. No, I'm sorry, I wouldn't do that.
Well, if you could. I mean, you could, right? Just fix yourself up.
Sorry, we went a little bit.
I mean, I just like the idea of having balls. I mean, I'd play with them all day.
Wow.
I'd just be going hibbity, 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 wouldn't you?
Okie dokie.
I'm sure that
we
your
need to put a
partner,
rating on this episode.
your partner would come through if you had boobs and spend there all day like hibbity, hibbity, hibbity. I mean,
Hibbity, hibbity, hibbity.
I don't know. That's just my new word. Hibbity, hibbity.
I'm getting a weird mental image, man. And I just called you man, which is even weirder.
Well, I was a man in my last life, which gets back to, as I was saying before,
You play with your balls.
transgender.
Oh,
I'd play
sorry.
with my balls all day if I had a pair.
I am so sorry. Transgender. So you think, we talked about that earlier as well, which was that if you're go back into life too quickly, you still feel as though you are the opposite gender, that kind of vibe.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, pets, past pets.
Yes, they hang
pets
around.
are huge for so many people.
Yeah, but they hang around until they either decide to reincarnate or they wait until you get to the other side. So everybody has a journey, don't they? Everybody has a journey of what they need to learn on this path.
Yeah.
How many times they want to reincarnate. I mean, you think about it. It's just incredible that we are here and the lessons that we need to learn. When you sort of look to space and say, well, we can't be the only ones here. I mean, there has to be something else. The Goldilocks zone, they've got many Earth-like planets that we could have people like us sitting there. There's that parallel universe. So you're thinking about, is there someone Moira and another Michelle, but we're choosing the opposite of what we're choosing this life. So if I choose yes this life, they're in the other life choosing no. I mean, you've got all these sorts of things as well. And so technically, you think about this, you think about, it's like what's the odds of you being here in this time frame? Like, it's just mind-boggling.
But even, the fact that conception, everything else, when you start thinking about the fact that all of those things worked perfectly for that person to be born, that's
right.
when that's when my brain just goes, and I have to stop thinking about it because it just does my head in.
But then it goes back to we are everything, and that our DNA is actually made up of stardust. So that's exploding.
No,
that's exploding
no,
planets.
It's gone too far now.
Yeah, okay, gone too far.
Hibbity, hibbity, hibbity.
Hibbity, hibbity, go back to the balls. That's why sometimes it's just so much that you just need to stay home and play with your balls. I mean, honestly.
Oh, my Lord.
I'm sure you would if you had a pair.
All right, let's have a look at the comments. Some of the people as well have mentioned, so we've talked about pets' past lives. Is it possible to hear from pets when they pass over? That was a lovely comment from Mel.
It's definitely you can feel them.
Pet psychics.
Yeah, so when I, have been at friends' places and, and I've seen animals and I've sort of gone up, I can actually, go on and see, hey, listen, I feel that, they've had a sore leg or they've had problems here. And, there's people that actually that's their job. They're pet psychics. I only do it because they're a friend and whatever. I don't actually sort of advertise that I do that. But, I mean, I have lost my dog Oscar last year in November and the amount of dreams that I have had with him in it and it feels so real. And I know they're visitations. So I know he's coming down to visit me because I'm obviously still mourning him. But there will become a time when he will then move on and choose, what he needs to do, like, what he needs to do. And it's interesting because sometimes if you can't come back as a sole family member, you can come back as a pet. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So does the pet psychic, are they reading the owner or are they reading
There's a beautiful story about a black panther and his name was called Diablo. And he was rescued and he was rescued with 2 cubs and they went to this particular zoo and this particular beautiful animal was not eating, he wasn't sleeping, he didn't like his enclosure and it was actually in South Africa and they called in a pet psychic. And the psychic actually said he doesn't like his name Diablo. He thinks that it's diabolical and it's not a great name and he would like you to change it. So they did. They changed his name. And they also said that he was asking about 2 little cubs that were rescued with him and where they went. And they found out that they were in another zoo and they actually got them and brought them back. And he then sort of adopted them and he was just saying that he liked his enclosure but he didn't kind of trust anybody and he'd like people to talk to him. So that's what happened. They started talking to him, they changed the name, they got the cubs and he was just lived out in this sanctuary and was just a changed panther. So you can actually, that's all documented.
Wow.
Yeah, so just look up the Black Panther Diablo.
Okay. Sounds very interesting.
Yeah, but that's very much about a psychic. And she was sitting there and she was just like talking to him psychically. So it's a bit like, when you can think of what someone's thinking and saying, that's how they do it.
Interesting. Now, you mentioned visitations, as in people in your dreams.
Yes.
Because we've discussed dreams before and the meanings of dreams. My teeth always fall out in my dreams.
Yep.
I was speaking to a friend this week who she always needs to wee in public, which is odd. And then she goes to a bathroom and there's no walls on the toilet. And it's a reoccurring dream that
she's
she has.
vulnerable. She's feeling very vulnerable. So she's feeling like people are seeing her and not necessarily in a good light. She's feeling judged.
I will let her know. Visitation, so spirits can visit you in your dreams.
Yes, and depending on how you feel, like they feel so real. Like when Oscar comes and visits me, he's just got. It's funny when you look back at it because you think, well, he didn't quite look like that. So he's got this massive smile on his face, which he did have because he's a bully,
big bulldog, yeah.
And and you could smell him and you could touch him and you could cuddle him and he was running and he was happy. And I think that's what he was trying to say to me, like I'm happy, even though I may not physically be here for you to cuddle, I am happy where I have gone and I've made it to the other side. And so I love having those dreams, but that was the same with anyone that has passed over. They come and have visitations. And then as, time goes on, they don't visit as much because you're not needing them there to do that. So when my mother passed, she used to always she passed in the winter and I live in Sydney and she used to always get my stepfather's shorts and she'd put them in the dryer and she'd warm them up and she'd put him on, she'd put him on the pillow. So he would always have these beautiful warm pajamas to put on. And so the night that she died, he came home and there was his shorts and they was hot as anything on his bed and I went and felt the dryer and the dryer was as hot as anything how does that happen? We were coming back from the hospital. It was freezing cold.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was breastfeeding at the time because I'd only just had my son.
Mm-hmm.
So, and she waited to pass until I'd been there for hours and hours, and I had to go back and do a feed. And she waited till then to actually pass. And as I was feeding him in the corner of my eye, and my husband saw it as well, he said, Marion. And I looked up and she was right there, and she just smiled, and then off she went. And he saw her. He saw her too.
So not just a psychic like you, but someone.
Yeah. But we're all psychic. It's just a matter of tapping into that. And, if that means you got to do some meditation, or you take away the old belief that this is it, and you can open up to that. I mean, it's like a sixth sense. Sometimes when you go somewhere and you're feeling in danger, heebie-jeebies, you think, hey, I've got to get out of here. I've got to do some sweet talking, or I've got to do something. And then later on you find out that something went awry, especially if you've gone out and then, you've gone home, you've got yourself out of a situation, you find out that it really turned into a terrible situation. So that's it. That's where you start. It's a feeling. You feel first. How do I feel about this?
What about psychics and the fact that, I'm sure how many times people have asked you for lottery numbers. That's one thing.
But nearly everybody that wins the lottery, whether it's a year to 2 years or 3, they're usually broke or depressed or committing suicide.
It's not a
be-all and end-all.
No. How much energy does it take for you to think about, I'm just thinking about massive things in history and people predicting that. Is that what a psychic can do as well, or are they a completely different type of person, someone who's predicting world events?
Well, I have a friend who is not psychic in any way, shape or form. I've known him since I was 15. We've been good friends, and he predicted the World Trade Center. So he had a dream about that, and he wasn't the only one. There was quite a few people that had a dream about a building being attacked by a plane. And within a matter of a couple of days, that actually did happen. It freaked him out because he's had no psychic stuff ever, and that freaked him out that he actually got it. But that wasn't uncommon. That had happened quite a bit. There is also another case about Pleasantville. Have you heard about Pleasantville where the bridge fell down and lots of people, then there was called the Mothman Prophecies. There was actually a movie written about it.
I feel as though you're saying a lot of movies to me right now. Yeah.
Well, there's actually a movie with it, Mothman Prophecies, and it was documenting this particular bridge. Well, lots and lots of people actually had the psychic phenomenon or dreams about that before it happened at Mount Pleasantville, I think it is.
All right, we might look into.
Wasn't so pleasant.
No, it certainly doesn't sound like a.
And then for years after, they had these sightings of the Mothman Prophecy, which was like a bat-like animal that sort of came in from nowhere, and then it just disappeared as quickly as it sort of left. But they do say that the Mothman Prophecy, or the Mothman, when he is seen in certain places, that there is a disaster to follow. But there is a Spanish law of moths that if you do see a black moth within 3 days, someone you know will pass, and that happens to me all the time.
I don't want to be your friend.
No, if you see a black moth.
Oh, sorry. Right. I thought you just go
then whoever within a 3-day period you will find of someone passing.
Oh, so you're still alive?
I'm still alive.
Yeah, but what if you see a moth and it's me that croaks in 3 days?
Oh, I'll say that.
I hope so.
I'll say it.
I don't mind. Bit of warning would be good, just so I can, leave out the banking details for my family. All right. Well, this was a very weird episode.
It was. But that's kind of how they go.
And that's how it goes. Thank you very much for listening, if you're still there.
You say that every week.
I do that. Thank you very much for all of the comments and also all of the love that we're getting as well, which is wonderful. Keep that coming. We're going into Easter in the next week, so we're going to have a chat about Easter pagan traditions and how they affect the world. But yeah, have a great week. And
have a great week, guys.
Be weird and fabulous, just like Michelle.
And Moira.
Okay.
Woodwork Podcasts.